Everyone in Ukpo knew the pounding sound that came at midnight. It started softly like a single knock, but it always grew louder, rhythmic, heavy, relentless. Bom, bom, bom. As if someone was pounding yam or cassava at the dead of night. But no one in Ukpo pounded food after sundown, not since the dry season of '86, when a man named Uchenna did, and was found the next morning curled up in his mortar, ribs snapped like broomsticks, body crushed as if he'd been the yam. They said it was her. They said the woman in the mortar didn't like to be mocked. But stories fade like chalk in the rain, and younger people, especially the boys who drank burukutu under the udala tree, laughed when the elders warned them. The pounding had become background noise, like frogs at dusk or the cry of distant nightjars. Something eerie, yes, but not dangerous. Not anymore. That was until Adiz came home. In the dusty Harmattan season of 1993, Adiz came home, and the pounding became more than just sound. She had been gone nearly a decade. Left as a wide-eyed teenager with cornrows and Sunday clothes, returned as a woman with gold bracelets, bleached knuckles, and a tongue too sharp for silence. Adiz was a city girl now, with wide glasses, cold perfume, and an accent that made her Igbo sound like broken glass. They said she worked in a bank in Abuja. Important work. Big money. But no one asked too many questions. Adiz was Mama Nkechi's only child, and grief had bent that woman's back like a bow. She kissed her mother once lightly and said, "I needed a break." But she didn't come home to rest. She came home to renovate the family compound. Bricklayers, masons, and painters buzzed around like wasps. Her first act was to tear down the kitchen hut. The second, far worse, was dragging the family's old mortar into the open yard, declaring it termite-ridden and uncivilized. It had sat beneath the guava tree for generations, worn smooth by women who pounded yam and secrets into its belly. Now it was dumped by the pit like broken furniture. The villagers muttered, and Mama Nkechi shook her head silently each day as she passed the empty patch where the mortar once sat. That mortar was older than Adiz's mother, possibly older than the village itself. Carved from a single Irako trunk, its rim was lined with dark, oily patterns, like faces caught mid-scream. No one used it anymore, but no one dared throw it away either. No one until Adiz. That first night after the mortar was moved, the pounding began again. Bom, bom, bom. Louder than anyone remembered. So loud it woke the chickens. So loud the trees shook. So loud the river that curved near the village turned muddy and stopped flowing for 2 hours. Children cried. Old men lit fires. Dogs howled and clawed at doorways. But Adiz slept through it. The next morning they found Emeka, the carpenter's boy, stiff and cold on the road near the refuse pit. His arms were folded across his chest like an infant's. His tongue had been nailed to his chin with a pestle. Around him was a ring of yam peels, laid out in a perfect circle. Adiz looked out the window, frowned, and asked Mama Nkechi why people still believed in village nonsense. The next night it was worse. That night the pounding came back. Louder. Meaner. The ground didn't just tremble, it heaved. Roofs groaned. Dogs barked until they foamed. A clay pot exploded in one house. In another, a new bride bled from her ears until she passed out. And by dawn 12-year-old Shinanso was missing. They found him near the refuse pit, folded like laundry, eyes wide and glassy, his tongue flattened against his chin. His hands gripped a yam peel twisted into the shape of a noose. His feet were covered in palm oil. Adiz called it coincidence. She didn't believe in village tales, she said. Her voice was firm, almost angry, as though she were lecturing an unruly intern. Mass hysteria. Trauma. It's just bad luck. You people see spirits in everything. She didn't ask why her mother had stopped speaking. She didn't ask why every mirror in the house had cracked during the night. I will burn that thing today, she said, sipping imported coffee. Mama Nkechi wept quietly in the backyard. That evening, Adiz poured kerosene over the mortar and set it alight. The fire rose, yellow and hot, but the mortar did not crack. It burned all night, yet in the morning the mortar still sat there, unscathed, blackened but whole. That was the night everything changed. At midnight, the pounding started again, but this time it wasn't just sound. The ground shook. Doors banged open. Cooking pots flipped over. Shadows moved against walls with no light to cast them. In the square, the udala tree bled sap as thick and red as palm oil. And in the morning, Mama Nkechi was gone. Adi screamed until her voice cracked. They searched the compound, the bush paths, the village stream. They even checked the old shrine that no one visited anymore. Nothing. Not even her wrapper or headscarf. But beside the burned mortar lay a single item. Mama Nkechi's wedding ring, still warm, still shining. That evening, Adi sat on the veranda, face pale, lips dry. No more perfume. No more coffee. Just silence. Then she spoke. She said there had been a woman in Abuja. An old woman who came into the bank barefoot, dragging a pestle wrapped in cloth. No one else seemed to notice her. She didn't speak, only stared at Adiz, her mouth moving like she was chewing something too tough to swallow. She cursed me, Adiz whispered. She put something in my bag. When I got home I found yam peels. The elders gathered. Papa Ifani, the oldest man in Ukpo, walked with a cane made from the same tree as the mortar. He touched it gently, murmured something in a language only his teeth remembered, and turned to Adiz. You brought her back. Adiz laughed, a hollow broken thing. She's not real, she said. You're all mad. That night, she locked herself in the compound. She turned on all the lights. She played loud city music. She even sprayed holy water on the walls, though no one knew where she got it. Still at midnight, the pounding returned. But this time it came from inside the house. Bomb, bomb, bomb. She screamed, ran to her room and pushed a chair under the door. The lights flickered. The air thickened like hot water before it boils. She called out to her mother, but her voice echoed back, wrong, twisted, like it had passed through teeth too sharp. And then she saw it. In the mirror, not her reflection, but a figure crouched in the corner behind her. A woman with hair like twisted vines, skin like cracked wood, and teeth too many for one mouth. She held a pestle in one hand. In the other, a wriggling thing that looked like a newborn yam, or a child with no bones. The figure grinned. Adiz turned, but nothing was there. When she looked back at the mirror, the image was gone, but on the floor, wet yam peels glistened like spilled blood. After a while, it continued again. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Adiz sat up, heart hammering, sweat pooling in her armpits despite the cold. She turned on the lights. They flickered and hissed, then snapped off completely. She grabbed her phone. Dead battery. The pounding grew closer, now echoing against her chest, matching her heartbeat. Then it stopped. Complete silence. She stepped out of bed, her feet sinking into something soft and cold. She looked down. Yam peels. Fresh. Wet. Glimmering with oil. She screamed. Her voice didn't travel far. Because something answered. A laugh. Oh, guttural. Female. Like someone trying to remember how to be human. She turned and saw her. A woman crouched in the corner of the room, her body the color of smoked wood, her hair a nest of thorns, and her eyes, those eyes, two pits of bleeding shadows. She was pounding yams slowly, rhythmically, into an invisible mortar. But the pestle dripped. It wasn't yam. It wasn't food. Adiz backed away, but the wall caught her. The woman raised her head. Her mouth opened and it didn't stop. Her jaw cracked, stretched, split like a snake's. And in the pit of that gaping void were teeth, not arranged in rows but circles, like ripples in a cursed pond. She whispered Adiz's name, not with her mouth, but inside Adiz's skull. Adiz fainted. They found her the next morning, curled up in the old mortar, hands wrapped around her knees, face pressed into the wood. Her eyes were open, wide, and dry. She looked like she had tried to scream for a long time but never managed it. She never spoke again. They say she whispers now, but only to the trees. She stays in the compound, rocking gently, chewing things no one can see. Children avoid her. Even the bravest ones cross the road when they pass her gate. Every midnight, the pounding returns. They say the mortar chose her. They say the woman in the mortar was never truly gone. And if you listen closely, just past the yam peels, just beneath the pounding, you can hear her voice, humming a lullaby no mother should ever sing.